Good morning, happy Wednesday. It's a lovely sunny day outside. I think spring is finally here. I hope everyone manages to get out for a walk over the next few days or maybe even a trip to the park. That would be a lovely treat. So this is the last day that I'm going to be reading our story for a while and going to take a little break from it after midterm, and hopefully we'll be back in the classroom really soon as well. So our final chapter today is chapter 18 and it's called The Substitute. Okay, so I wonder, does anyone have any predictions what this is going to be about? I'd say some of the boys and girls know what that word means. It means when a different teacher comes and takes your class for a day or a couple of days. Maybe your teacher is sick or she has an appointment, or she's on a course. And then sometimes teachers come that we call a substitute teacher. They don't work in our school all the time, but sometimes they come and give us a hand when we need a bit of help. So, Benjamin couldn't take it any longer. Today was the day he would finally tell Mrs. Jules his real name. So what if nobody likes me, he thought. So what if I stop getting high marks? Hi, Mark, said Jason. Hi, Mark, said Stephen. Hi, he glumly replied, then started up the stairs. Hi, Mark, said Bibi, as he took his seat next to her. Guess what? We have a substitute. Yahoo! Shouted Mauricio. Everyone in Mrs. Jewell's class loved it when they had substitute teachers. They loved playing mean and horrible tricks on them. Benjamin frowned. He finally had the courage to tell Mrs. Jewell his real name, and now she wasn't here. Rats, he said. That's a good idea, said Terence. Maybe we'll put dead rats in her desk. Let's trick her into going outside, said Joy. Then lock her out of the room. But what if she tells Mr. Kidswatter, said Eric Fry. So what, said Joy. She'll have to go all the way down to the office and then all the way back up. By then, we'll unlock the door. Mr. Kidswatter will think she's bonkers. Benjamin looked at the substitute teacher sitting at Mrs. Jewell's desk. She looked like a nice lady. She wore tiny spectacles and had long grey hair tied in a ponytail. He felt sorry for her. And he felt sorry for himself. He was going to tell Mrs. Jewell his real name today. He really was. The substitute stood up and walked to the centre of the room. Good morning, she said. My name is Mrs. Franklin. Nobody said good morning back to her. Calvin handed Benjamin a note. At 10 o'clock, drop your book on the floor. Pass it on. Benjamin read it, then passed it on to Todd. Okay, who can tell me what page we're on? Asked Mrs. Franklin. Page 17, called Myron. 112, said Mauricio. 98, said Eric. 3000, said Joe. Mrs. Franklin smiled. I'll guess we'll have to study all of those pages, she said. Benjamin raised his hand. Yes, the handsome young man in the red shirt, said the substitute. He told her the correct page. We're on page 102, he said. Thank you, said the substitute. And what's your name, please? Benjamin thought for a moment. He looked around the room, then boldly told the truth. My name is Benjamin, he stated proudly. Several children sniggered. Thank you, Benjamin, said the substitute. There were more sniggers. You're welcome, said Benjamin. He felt good, even if the other children were laughing at him. Mrs. Franklin asked a question from page 102. Jason answered it correctly. Very good, said the substitute. And what's your name, please? Jason looked around. Benjamin, he said. Half the class giggled. Thank you, Benjamin, said Mrs. Franklin. The other half giggled. Dana answered the next question. And what's your name? Mrs. Franklin asked Dana. Benjamin, she blurted out, and then fell giggling onto the floor. Thank you, Benjamin, said the substitute. Everyone was hysterical. It's certainly my pleasure to teach such happy students, said the substitute. Who knows the answer to question number 4? They all raised their hands. They all wanted to tell the substitute that their name was Benjamin. They were having so much fun they forgot to drop their books on the floor at 10 o'clock. At lunchtime, everyone congratulated Benjamin on his great trick. You're a genius, said Mark. Benjamin is such a funny name, said Jason. How did you ever think of it? Because my name really is Benjamin, said Benjamin. So's mine, said Stephen. Mine too, said Leslie, and they all laughed. Do you think she really believes we're all named Benjamin? Asked Owen. Probably, said Joy. She's a bit silly. If she thought we were lying, she would have gone mad, said Eric. The bell rang and they all hurried back to class. After lunchtime, it was time for science. Who would like to read? Asked Mrs. Franklin. Every hand went up. Okay, Benjamin, said Mrs. Franklin as she pointed to Dana. Everyone laughed. Dana giggled a few seconds, then got control of herself and read from the book. Thank you, Benjamin, said Substitute when Dana finished reading. Okay, Benjamin, you may read next, she said, pointing at Terence. Everyone laughed. It was the first time all year that Terence had volunteered to read. All day, everyone paid very close attention. They all wanted the children to call on them. Because as funny as it was when Mrs. Franklin called somebody else Benjamin, it was even funnier when she called you Benjamin. So everyone worked hard and listened closely. As a result, they learned more from the substitute teacher in a day than they usually learned from Mrs. Jules in a whole month. When the bell finally rang, everyone crowded around her desk. Are you coming back tomorrow, Mrs. Franklin? Asked Eric. Please, Mrs. Franklin, will you stay? Pleaded Kathy. You're the best substitute teacher we've ever had, said Jason. The substitute smiled. School is over, she said. You don't have to call me Mrs. Franklin anymore. That sounds so formal. Since we're friends now, you may call me by my first name. What is your first name? The substitute gathered up her things and put them in her bag. Benjamin, she said, and she walked out the door. Everyone stared silently after her. Do you think that's really her name? Asked Joy. That was a funny chapter. Okay, boys and girls, I hope everybody enjoys their midterm break tomorrow and Friday. I hope you had lots of yummy pancakes yesterday and that you get to go out in the nice mild weather over the next couple of days. Okay, slán!